Welcome to another Linwood Creations video. In this one I will be building the Snoopy Flying Ace from the Peanuts comic strip. I was very fond of this character when I was younger. Still am to this day. I still find Snoopy and his quest to defeat the dreaded Red Baron very entertaining. Couldn't find a kit, so I decided to build my own. So follow along and I'll show you how. So I started with Blender and I modeled the Snoopy character and his doghouse separately. As you can see here, some of the parts you can see are not actually attached, but I had fun building it. And in this case, the house, I did use these sculpting tools in Blender, which was a good learning experience. And so here's the finished product printed piece with a coat of primer on it. I did print them separately. The Snoopy character is separate and is detachable from the house. Has a little peg on his behind there, so he can fit on the top of the house without falling off. And I did find a spare piece of wood that I wanted to use as a base, and it turns out it fits perfectly. I didn't want an overly sized base. I'm going to keep this one nice and intimate and cute. So yeah, put them all together and it will look something like this. I began the painting process by doing some pre-shading. If you're not familiar with this technique, it's basically using a darker tone to help create some shadow areas and maybe push some elements back further. It is used underneath the main coat of whatever your color is eventually going to be, and it will show through. In 3D parlance, it's very similar to ambient occlusion, where shadows happen in corners or in where objects meet each other. I was a little heavy-handed on this one, unfortunately. In hindsight, I might have used a darker gray rather than black. I think it was a little too dark when I put the red on top of this, so I did have to use a couple coats of red to kind of help tone it down some. But, you know, lesson learned. That's why we do this. Always learning. Upon closer inspection from this close-up here, you can probably see some blemishes on the 3D model, some supports left, some divots in the model itself. But in this case, I'm not too worried about that. I actually kind of like it. It helps make the house look a little bit rougher, which is kind of what I wanted. I just wanted some rough wood feel and not a pristine doghouse. And here's the final product after the pre-shading. When it comes to choosing the colors, it was a little confusing because there were many different versions of the Snoopy. I chose to go with the red scarf, the red house, and the green helmet. And here I am laying down the first coats of the red paint, trying my best to push back that pre-shading, which was obviously really dark. Once again, trying to create some visual interest by eventually going over some of the wood panels with a little bit lighter shade of red, just kind of breaking it up again because I didn't want it to be too monotonous and uniform across the entire house. I think that's a little bit boring, so try to show the visual changes and mix things up a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. So think about that when you're painting your next model, trying to mix it up and make things look a little more interesting and realistic. And here's the final paint job. As you can see, especially on the roof there, it's a little hard to see in this video, but you can see some of the lighter red panels that I painted on there. Overall, looking pretty good. Now I'm doing the first coat of white paint on the Snoopy character. I did not see this with my naked eye, but now the camera is zoomed in quite a bit. You can see all sorts of, I don't know what those are, fuzzies and There's some layer lines. There's a whole bunch going on here that needed some fixing, so I did clean that up eventually. But even here, as I'm painting his nose, you can see a little tiny hair fiber sticking out there that I couldn't see. But that all got cleaned up in the end, so no worries there. Thing I did have to worry about was the white paint on Snoopy, especially the flat white. Is very susceptible to pick up other colors off of your fingers. So you can see my thumb there still has some of that red from the house. It did get a little bit of transfer on his foot there, so there was a little bit of cleanup on that. But on the scarf here, I also did a little bit of underpainting on that as well, to kind of show off some of the folds in the fabric. I did go lighter this time, but I did learn my lesson on the house. But now that we're looking at the top of Snoopy's head there, you can also see that I tried to create a lighter shade of green on the top of his head to kind of, again, create some visual interest and maybe create a little highlight spot on the top of his head, but it didn't really work out with my brush there, so it kind of came out splotchy. So I did have to go in with my airbrush and kind of clean that up. Now, after I just talked about how the color really easily transfers onto the white, you're probably wondering why I didn't mask off the white areas on Snoopy's snout specifically. Yes, I did get some overspray onto his nose, which again I did have to clean up afterwards. And eventually we finally get to the last part here, which is painting Snoopy's spots. Yes, he does have spots. You don't always see them in the comic strip, but they are there. And lastly, I'll put a little bit of super glue on that little nub on his behind. Get him to stick down on the house permanently. So if I ever accidentally knock it over, he doesn't go flying, ruining that paint job. The hole that I made was a little snug, so as you see here, I'm having to push down quite hard, trying to be very delicate not to snap off his scarf, but eventually he went in, so yay. Now moving on to the base, I did paint it with a primer black, but as sometimes we as modelers try to explore with new materials and techniques, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it didn't really work out. I have used a molding paste before in the past successfully. For whatever reason this time it just didn't stick very well to the base, and also it wasn't sticky enough for the static grass when I laid it down. I just really wasn't happy with the results on this one, so as you can see here, it just sort of, I don't know, it didn't do what I was hoping it would do. And so I just decided to scrape the whole thing off and start over again. I did use a little bit more Mod Podge and molding paste as well. But unfortunately, in my haste, as you see here, I forgot to paint the base before putting down the static grass. So, trying to fix my error, I decided to airbrush some darker grain on top to kind of break it up a little bit and make it feel a little bit more grassy. There's always a way to hide the mistakes, right? And then I come back in after it's dried, put down some Mod Podge, trying to put down some lighter green static grass that I have, just again to break it up, create some more visual interest. This time it seems to be working exactly like I was hoping it would work. But unfortunately, it was a hot day that day, and I forgot to turn my ceiling fan off before doing this. So as you can see, the grass is coming out a bit on the sideways angle. But fortunately, my bowl did catch most of the overspill, so no worries there. Go ahead and lift this off and get rid of the excess. And those are the results of that. So I'll do that a couple more times to kind of make it a little bit nicer looking. And then once I fixed the house onto the base, I didn't I didn't particularly like the way it was kind of sitting on top of the grass, so I wanted to make it feel like it was more embedded in the ground, and since I couldn't push into the base, I decided to cover it with some extra foliage. In this case, it's some more rough turf from Woodland Scenics. I'm liking my technique of using the end of my brush to push that down because it's not really sticking to the end of the brush, and allows me to work it just real gently without damaging the grass underneath. Also wanted to create some taller grass tufts, and so I tried snipping off some of this stuff and putting it on. I did trim it down a little bit after it was affixed, but in my error I tried to put this down with my tweezers, which seemed to make sense until I went to go push it down, and well, you can see the results there. It wasn't great, but as we do, and when we build these things, we try to find some way to fix that problem. And what I should have done, and what I did eventually do, was go back to using the end of my brush, which worked out much better. And here's the result of the grass work. Yes, I did make the mistake of painting that base black ahead of time, which in hindsight again was not the right choice, because once I put down some of the Woodland Scenics scenic cement, which is basically watered down Elmer's glue, if you will, kind of seals everything in, but you know, there's runoff, there's mess, so that's why you paint your base last. And clearly I didn't learn my lesson, but I'm still using my tweezers. Anywho, I decided to give the base a light sanding to get rid of all those grass bits stuck to it, and gave it one more coat of black real gently with my brush, soft brush, and it worked out much better this time. Fortunately, the brush strokes leveled out after when it dried, so no worries there. I was a little worried I'd have to mask the grass area off somehow and airbrush it, but fortunately it did not come to that. Now moving on to the lettering I'm going to put on the base. I wanted to create a mask, so I took some adhesive backed vinyl that I had and created in Adobe Illustrator and loaded it up in my Cricut and let that cut out the mask for me. And there you go. Then it's just a matter of lining it up. And putting in the final touches for the mask. And then laying down a coat of white. I did want to paint the word ace in red, but as we saw before with that dark undercoat, the red would come out really dark, so I just gave everything a white coat of paint. I did load up my airbrush with a little too much thinner, as you can see here. I was like, what's going on here? So I painted on the tape, and you can see what's happening there. So I had to cut back on the flow a lot and just be patient, and it worked out. So I put down the red, and you can see it's about as vibrant as the house is, where the pre-shading isn't. And I think it turned out really well. It's just a matter of taking off the bits without scratching any of your paint job. And there you go. And here's the final product. I think it came out pretty well. Hope you agree. If you like this kind of video, I'll hopefully be making more. I think I really enjoyed, this is only my second one, but I really enjoyed the process, and I think I caught the bug. So if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and feel free to subscribe as well. See you next time.